Shalom, and giving all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. May Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai's peace be bestowed unto you, hopefully elect. I'm your brother Yahweh Call from the Great Millstone, Orlando. And just in light of, the tensions between Iran and which we know Iran and America, which we know America is, they back up the small hats, Amalek and them. And with that being said, because when you go to the whole manifesto of the World War One, World War Two, you can go into it, look into it yourself. But dealing with World War Three, which when you go into it, man, and this is why we've been seeing over the years, you have certain events like 9/11, right, where they blame Ishmael and them, painting a certain narrative, them being the boogeyman and things of that sort. Because again, when you go into the whole manifesto of World War III, why they need this third world's war or third world's war to come to pass, man. Why they need these certain of these things to take place. Through the power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai on the left hand, he's orchestrating these things. Again, being that America backs the state of Israel, the small hats, right? But it ties into, I got this video here, a little one of them I'm gonna play. What if all Muslim countries united? And needless to say, man, that would be bad for the small hats. So that's why, like I said, they over the years they paint this narrative, paint this boogeyman, right? And overall they got to do away with them, But with that being said, all right, all they're going to do is as we're seeing is all they're going to do is unite these these nations, again going into the dragons of Arabia, right? Because again, this whole conflict is forcing people to take sides. It's forcing countries, nations to take sides. Because pretty much, man, these nations, man, especially those so-called Arab nations, all right, the Muslim nations and whatnot, nations that have for a long time been at war with one another. They've been in conflict. But as we've been seeing, especially in recent years, certain of these nations, they're having certain talks and establishing ties, in nations that were for a long time at enemies with one another. Well, because of prophecy, and again, because of the small hats, as well as America, they're coming together. And this is what we're seeing as it's been coming out. A lot of these Muslim nations, countries, especially America's allies like the Saudis, right? Kuwait, what do you call it? These Gulf states, Gulf Arab states, right? And how they're pretty much telling America, hey, although they're allied to America, they're pretty much, they told America, hey, we're not going to assist you. We're not going to aid you if you go after Iran, right? Because, hey, they don't want no smoke, They They don't want no smoke, man. You know, because America's been talking all the shit, as well as Amalek. Over the years they've been boasting about their defense system, their what do you call it, man? Their the dome, right? They've just been talking shit, right? But that's already been exposed, basically, man, these nations, they've been watching, they've been paying attention, right? Because again, a lot of this tension between Iran and Babylon, hey, some so-called Iranians, they've been sending out phone calls as well, that hey, if y'all aid in America attacking us, then hey, basically we will touch y'all too, in not so many words. Iran has been flexing too. They've been calling those neighboring nations that hey, basically, hey, we're gonna go after those air bases because America, man, they got their imprint throughout the four corners of the earth. If I'm not mistaken, give or take 800 military bases around the world, 80 U.S. embassies around the world. If I'm not mistaken, right? But basically, man, when this thing pops off, man, it's going to really and this is why apostles, especially Apostle Tahar over the years, man, he's really been emphasizing on keeping an eye on the so-called Middle East, all right, on the Levant region, because shit's gonna pop off over there, man, and it's really gonna it is gonna go down, but everyone's tired of Esau and Amalek in particular. This is why Revelation 12:12, man, Esau, he has to come down with that great wrath. He has to make his move. He has to do something. All right, because as I'm going to play this video, this is a Esau, in particular Amalek. He can't have this happen. All right, because this is the fact that these Muslim nations are more and more, they're going to start coming together. Like I said, Iran, Saudi Arabia, going at it for years, right? But now they're going to start coming together. It's unprecedented, and as well as many other of these Muslim nations, right? But that's why I have this video here. I'm going to go ahead and play it. Copyright disclaimer: I'm not making any type of monetary gain off of this video. Fair use. This is just for informational purposes. So I'm going to play this video.
Hello, welcome to Paimon. Let's create an alternative scenario where all Muslim countries unite their powers. What would this world look like? Let's evaluate it with statistical data, possible scenarios, and predictions. Throughout history, Muslim states have established great empires, ruled vast territories, and played significant roles in the development of civilization. For example, the Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates united the Islamic world, leading to a golden age in science, culture, and trade. The Ottoman Empire spanned 3 continents, shaping political and economic balances in Europe, Asia, and Africa. The Great Seljuk Empire defended the Islamic world against the Crusades and strengthened the education system. The Mughal Empire left a rich architectural and cultural legacy in India, constructing world-famous structures like the Taj Mahal. If all Muslim countries were to unite under a single entity today, this structure would undoubtedly become the largest political and geographical union in history. This union could include over 50 countries, but before moving forward, an important note: in this alternative scenario, even though some countries like Turkey define themselves as secular, they are included in the list because the majority of their population is Muslim. So not all included countries are officially Islamic states, but they have a Muslim majority population. Let's start with the flag. Most likely, this country's flag would consist of green and white colors, with a crescent and star in the center. Its name could be the United Muslim States, the Islamic Federation, or the Caliphate Union. With a land area of 22 million square kilometers, it would be larger than Russia, and with a population of 1.9 billion, it would make up 25% of the world's total population. Cairo.
So, one aspect, one aspect of this, imagine, let's just say 2 billion people. And you know, Israel, the state of Israel, man, them small hats, they're surrounded by Muslims as it is. But just imagine, let's just say 2 billion Muslims against you.
Cairo, Istanbul, and Jakarta would be among its largest metropolises. However, if a capital city were to be chosen, Istanbul or Mecca would likely be the strongest candidates.
Not to mention a lot of the nations that are joining with Russia or Magog, pursuant to Ezekiel 38, they're Muslim nations.
United Muslim States would become the third largest economy in the world, surpassing the European Union but remaining behind China and the US, with a GDP exceeding $10 trillion. The Muslim world would control 40% of the world's oil reserves. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, and the UAE would be the main oil producers, while Turkey would be the industrial hub, Indonesia, the electronics production center, Pakistan, the textile giant, and Iran, the leader in military technology. Additionally, the Muslim world would account for 30% of global food production, securing a dominant position in global trade. Sudan's agricultural capacity, Kazakhstan's wheat production, and Bangladesh's textile industry would play key roles in global supply chains. By combining agriculture, industry, and energy sectors, this country would emerge as an economic superpower. Economic alliances similar to China's Belt and Road Initiative would establish new trade routes and industrial zones, spanning Africa, Asia, and Europe. This state would possess the world's strongest logistics network. The United Muslim States would have the world's largest army, with 10 million active soldiers, surpassing the combined military forces of the US and China. Pakistan's 165-plus nuclear warheads would serve as a deterrent, while Turkey's advanced drone technology, Iran's long-range ballistic missiles, and Indonesia's strong navy would establish global military superiority. The defense industry, led by Turkey and Iran, would develop advanced weaponry and space technologies. A United Muslim Space Agency would be established to launch lunar and Martian exploration projects. Strategic alliances with NATO, the US, and Russia would be formed to maintain global balance. With land, air, and naval forces, this country would become one of the top 3 military powers in the world.
And I would go as far as to say, just my humble opinion, my vain opinion, you know, if these Muslim nations came together, they would have their own, pretty much, NATO force, you know. And this is a part of the narrative, Esau and his narratives, you know, Esau and his narratives, you know, that is a part of his, part of the tricks that he has up his sleeve, so to say, you know, his narratives. And one of the narratives as far as Esau, Amalek, and why they have to prevent, why they have to go after Iran is because Amalek knows if Iran gets their hands on these weapons, these nukes, it would be the end for them. So like I said, man, Amalek over there they're already surrounded by Muslims, all right, you know, Muslim nations and whatnot. All right, so that in itself is bad enough, you know. But overall, this would be bad news for Amalek, right? And again, just my vain opinion, as I quoted Revelation 12:12, you know, Esau, he's going to have to come down with that great wrath, you know. I hope he does something dramatic, you know, to really, because it's going to start with Iran, Israel, all right. You know, Amalek, man, they're gonna do something stupid, right? Whether it's Iran directly or through their little puppet America, this is what we're seeing right now. America's via Trump is puffed up. He's proud, talking hella cash shit, right? And things of that nature. And again, man, specifically these other Muslim nations, man, they're seeing this. They're seeing what's going on. They're being forced to take a side, and this is why, like I said, hey, even when it comes to America's allies, Saudi Arabia, because when you go into this even more, this whole subject of all Muslim nations coming together, countries coming together, they eventually go into the point where they eventually go into how, because this is hypothetical, because there will be a lot of conflict from within, which we've seen this throughout time, the conflict from within and things of that sort. But nevertheless, these Muslim countries are going to start coming together, as I'm going to touch on in 2nd Ezra 15, right? We go to this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and play more of this.
A strong alternative to Western media dominance would emerge. Turkish TV series, Arab cinema, and Iranian literature would attract massive international audiences. Muslim world media organizations would rival Western-based news and entertainment sectors. A common digital platform and media agency would be created to challenge Western media monopolies. The Islamic financial system would develop an independent economic structure to counter Western financial control. Blockchain-based Islamic banking systems would expand, leading to a global financial revolution. The United Muslim States would become a dominant force in global politics. As a superpower, it would gain veto power at the United Nations, controlling 60% of the world's oil reserves. It would regulate energy markets and exert pressure on major economies like Europe, China, and the US. On issues such as the Palestinian conflict, it would apply diplomatic pressure to reshape international policies. With control over key trade routes such as the Suez Canal, the Strait of Hormuz, the Strait of Malacca, and the Bosporus, this country would dominate global trade. A unified diplomatic network representing all Muslim countries would make it one of the most influential players in international relations. The formation of this state would fundamentally alter the global power balance, but significant obstacles stand in the way of such unification. The biggest barriers include sectarian divisions, ethnic identities and historical rivalries, political differences between monarchies, republics, and theocratic governments, economic disparities between wealthy Gulf nations and poorer Muslim countries. The Sunni-Shia divide remains one of the most defining challenges in the Islamic world. At the same time, several Muslim countries are direct rivals or even enemies. Furthermore, monarchies, secular republics, and Islamic governments operate under different systems, making power balance difficult to maintain. Economic inequality would create serious income gaps between wealthy Gulf states and struggling Muslim nations. However, if a European Union-style economic and political bloc were formed, the Muslim world could become an independent and powerful global force.
So, as I said, with all that being said, this is what's been going on now, all right? All these issues, and this is why a lot of these Muslim countries have been at odds, especially Saudi Arabia, Iran. But that's why, again, this is what we're seeing now. And Lord willing, we're going to start seeing more of these Muslim countries, man, coming together, and it's all prophecy, all right? As a matter of fact, I want to play this next clip. It's just a short clip.
One country falling could shake India, China, and Russia at the same time? That country is Iran, and the map explains everything. Iran quietly supplies 10 to 15% of China's oil, often relabeled through Gulf routes. That's why China signed a 25-year secret energy deal with Tehran. Now imagine this. Iran's regime collapses, and Tehran shifts back under US influence, just like before 1979. Suddenly, the US gains leverage over Iranian oil, the Strait of Hormuz, and West Asian choke points. For India, this is dangerous. Iran is India's land bridge to Armenia and Central Asia. If Iran flips, that corridor breaks, and and pressure rises around Pakistan and Kashmir. For China, it's an energy trap. Iran gone means most of China's oil sources are indirectly controlled by the US. For Russia, Iran is a southern shield. Lose Iran, lose drones, depth, and regional balance. Iran isn't just a country, it's a domino on the world map. And if it falls, the shockwaves won't stop at its borders. Did you know one country...
So you see, hey, the Eastern Bloc, man, they obviously they can't have this. All right, and America via Trump, as we see, is positioning themselves to take over the Western Bloc with strategic moves like this. All right, infiltrate Iran, and you know, justify themselves into like we've seen in Venezuela, and the same playbook that we've seen for decades now. All right, cause chaos, so it justifies them in going in and taking over, you know. But this is why, again, with this whole tension and escalation, all right, because there's a lot of strategic political moves being made and things of that sort, you see. And with all that, again, you know, this is why we see we're going to see more and more of these Muslim nations coming together. All right, because again, these nations, these countries, man, they got to choose sides. All right, they got to choose sides. Right. We're going into this in 2 Ezra 15, and we'll start at verse 27. For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them, for the Most High shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against me. Behold, in horrible vision, in the appearance thereof from the east, right, the so-called Middle East, right, and that's why I played the first video, man, because hey, they can't have something as far as the West, all right, the West of the influence of the West, Babylon, they can't have something like this take place. All right. It says, verse 29, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. All right, you know, and this is what we're seeing again. These nations, these countries that have been at odds with one another for years, for decades, but because of Amalek, Babylon, Esau, all right, and more, especially in recent years, they've been coming together, right, to fight, to come against the common enemy. Everyone is pointing to the common denominator. And that's why, pursuant to the prophecy, the least of the flock, drawing them out. All right, because again, I hope, man, and I believe, man, MLS is going to do something stupid to really catapult this thing. Because once it starts popping off over there, hey, well, when you continue to read on, matter of fact, I'm going to read verse 30 again. Also the Carmanians, talking about the so-called Iranians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. And you ever seen a pack of boars, man? You know, they can trample you, man. You know, trample you to death, man. It says, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them. You see, so again, these countries that have been at, Muslim countries that have been at war for a long time, all right, more and more they're going to come together, because they're starting to see, especially these Gulf states, right? Saudi Arabia and them, right? They just pretty much have this mindset like, man, what good is it going to do if we join side, if we continue to stick with Babylon? What good is it going to be to us? Because like I said, man, these nations, as dumb as these Americans are, these nations, they see what's going on. All right, America breaks treaties, how America treats its own allies and things of that nature, right? This is why, again, we've seen more and more of America's allies, man. They're like, you know what, hey, they're exercising their options, right? Playing the field and things of that nature, right? So, like I said here, you know, these Carmanians, the so-called Iranians, and these Muslim nations, countries, they're going to come together, all right? And this is what this whole conflict, this is what is brewing up. It says, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Talking about here America, because when you go out there, this whole chapter, it talks about Egypt, Syria, Babylon. It's talking about America. All right. I'll probably just read on down. Probably just read through the whole chapter, rest of the chapter. It says, then these shall be troubled, then these shall be troubled, bled, and kept silence through their power, and shall flee. And again, like I mentioned, you know, part of Esau, his power structure, man, his sorcery, one of the tricks that he has up his sleeves is his narratives, his media, right? Because like I said, and keep silence through their power, right? Because again, part of the boogeyman, they don't want Iran to get these weapons of so-called mass destruction, right? So-called weapons of mass destruction, these nukes, right? You know, but truth be told, there's no telling how much, because it wouldn't surprise me. You know, Iran, they have nukes already. It won't surprise me. Hell, a couple of years ago, it came out about the whole what do you call it? I forgot what it's called, man. Oh man, I forgot what they call it. But basically, man, they had a whole underground it was a whole, damn, what's the term for it? You know, Salaki, man, working these night shifts, man, you know, just throws you off, you know, has you in the days and whatnot, man. You know, this brain fog. The underground cities, you know, it came out a couple of years ago with Iran, the whole underground cities, you know, so that's why I said it wouldn't surprise me. They have nukes already, right? But they don't want to tell the people that, right? Out of fear, right? Or they don't want the, you know, the public to panic, right? Because here it is, it just came out. You know, the doomsday clock being moved to 85. What is it? 85 seconds to midnight, right? But a lot of people are saying that we're a lot closer. We're a lot closer than that. You know, it's just, again, they don't want the public to panic. So again, you know, that's a part of Esau. That's a part of his power structure. You know, this narrative, his media. You see, it says verse 33, and from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy receive them and consume some of them. And in their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. Because what was this, last year, right? Again, Iran's been flexing too, man. And, you know, part of that, you know, flex, like I said, they've been, as America is basically surrounding themselves around Iran, or positioning themselves to come against Iran, right? Hey, Iran has been making certain of those phone calls too, like, hey man, don't y'all get involved, or all right, or else, because again, once Iran gets touched by Babylon, hey, that's going to get Iran's allies involved, Russia, China. You know, this is why Babylon has been bluffing, man. Trump, he's been bluffing, right? He's been doubling down. You know, he keeps doubling down. His bluff keeps getting called. You know, so again, it says verse 33, and from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them, and in their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. Shit. So yeah, because America's gonna start getting touched. All right, America's gonna start getting touched from within, on American soil, Slovakia. And yeah, from within as well, because you know you have a lot of these Muslims. They're here in America, all right, these sleeper cells. All right, a lot of them, a lot of these Muslims are here in America. America's going to get touched from within. All right, from the outside, right, from the outside and from within. It says, "Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm." So there's going to be many fights going to break out, breaking out, right? It says, "They shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own star, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly." So there's going to be a lot of bloodshed. All right, and like I said, even their own star in Slovakia. I mean, I'm gonna have to do another part to this. So Slovakia,